The sky was red. It's not like a sunset, but like blood had soaked into the clouds. The wind carried ash. The ground cracked beneath armored boots. Vale stepped carefully over a blackened helmet, half melted and still smoking. Around him, the battlefield was silent. Ships, both alien and human, lay shattered across the landscape. Metallic skeletons, burned banners, crushed weapons, a place where hope had died. He tapped his cums again, static. He was alone. Vale was a Draenari scout, trained to operate in hostile terrain. His kind believed in order, logic, clean wars fought. From distance, drop in, scan, extract, no drama. This time it had all gone wrong. His transport had been hit during descent. Half the fleet never made it. The rest scattered. And somewhere on this cursed world, the Scourge was still alive. Feeding, evolving, watching. The Draenari had faced many enemies, but the Scourge was not a typical foe. It didn't fight with guns or ships. It didn't want territory. It consumed. It infected minds, rewrote bodies, twisted biology like clay. Every battlefield it touched became wrong, like the laws of reality had bent. And now Vale was stuck here, on ground already lost, with no backup, no map, no command. Then he saw it. A flicker. Blue light, low on the horizon. Movement. A signal beacon buried under rubble. Not Draenari. Human design. Still active. Vale hesitated. He had worked with humans before. Fought beside them in the early days of the war. Were unpredictable, stubborn, and far too emotional. But they fought with a kind of fury that defied sense. While most species calculated odds, humans simply said, "Let's try anyway." And sometimes it worked. He climbed the hill, his weapon ready. The air grew thick, heavy with static. The beacon flashed faster. Suddenly dashed movement, a figure stepped out of the smoke. Human-sized, armored, weapon raised. Another appeared beside them, then another. 6 total, now marked with the same faded insignia. A howling skull wrapped in fire. Old Earth military. Vale tensed. "Identify yourself," he called out. The lead human lowered his weapon slightly. His faceplate lifted, revealing tired eyes and a scar running down his jaw. "Name's Sergeant Maddox," he said. "Special unit. You're lucky we found you first." Vale blinked. "You survived the drop?" "Drop? Hell no. We've been here 3 weeks. That made no sense." "No unit was supposed to be deployed here for more than 48 hours. How?" Vale asked. The humans looked at each other. No one spoke. Then one of them laughed. Dry, empty sound. Sergeant Maddox motioned for him to follow. "Come on, if you're still breathing, we need to move. This place is about to wake up." As they walked through the wreckage, Vale noticed things, traps made from scavenged parts, drones welded from broken helmets, a wall of bones arranged like a warning sign. These weren't standard tactics. These humans weren't regular soldiers. They looked like ghosts, hungry, worn down, but not broken. They reached a shelter half, a crashed cruiser turned upside down. Inside were maps drawn in blood and soot, weapons modified in ways Vale didn't understand, and jars filled with what looked like moving flesh. "What is this?" he asked, unsettled. Maddox stared at him. "That's what's left of Bravo Squad." Vale turned away. One of the soldiers, a tall woman with a missing arm and glowing eyes, sat polishing a knife that buzzed with unknown energy. "You haven't seen them yet," she said softly. "The Scourge. Not really. They're close now." "Do you know? 'Cause we stopped dreaming last night," she whispered. Vale didn't ask again. Night fell fast. The humans didn't sleep. They watched the darkness like it was alive. The air grew colder. Sound faded. Even time seemed to slow. Vale checked his clock. It had reset to 0. A glitch. Or something worse. Then he heard it. A low rumble. Not mechanical. Not natural. Like hundreds of voices whispering through gravel. The ground shook. The shadows moved. Maddox stood. Positions. Humans clicked on strange devices emitters that gave off pulses in odd frequencies. Light bombs. Spike traps. One soldier pulled out a small stuffed toy and kissed it before strapping on explosive vests. Vale readied his rifle. What's coming? Maddox looked at him and said, something old, something hungry. Don't run. Don't scream. And if you see your own face out there, shoot it. The wind howled louder. Something massive crawled along the hills, hidden by smoke and fog. A shriek tore through the night, high and metallic, followed by silence so deep Vale could hear his heartbeat. Then a shape emerged, tall, shifting, no eyes. No face, just tendrils and bones and skin that looked like it remembered pain. It stepped forward and smiled in Vale's own voice. Sergeant Maddox didn't hesitate. He threw a grenade and shouted, "Welcome to the party, free show." The battlefield lit up and the nightmare began. The smoke from the explosion still hung thick in the air. Vale's ears rang, his vision blurred. Somewhere nearby, automatic fire echoed like metal rain. He scrambled behind a broken hole, breathing hard, heart racing in a rhythm that wasn't entirely his own. Something had changed the moment that thing smiled at him. That grin, it wasn't just mimicry. It had known him, used his voice, mocked his fear. He risked a glance over the edge of the wreckage. The humans were already moving, efficient, wordless. Maddox barked hand signals, and his team flowed like shadows, flanking the creature with speed and experience no drainery drill could match. One soldier was wounded, arm hanging useless, ribs likely broken, but she kept fighting. She moved with a kind of rage that terrified Vale more than the monster itself. The scourge thing was down, for now. Its limbs twitched in a pool of black. Liquid, steam rising where it touched the metal. But it wasn't dead. Not really. Nothing that warped could die so easily. Vale had studied the scourge in archives, watched training footage. But the real thing up close wasn't just a biological weapon. It was a living nightmare. An echo of something older than war itself, and yet the humans. They weren't shaken. After the creature stopped twitching, Maddox calmly approached it. He pulled a heavy knife from his belt and cut open its chest cavity. The other soldiers formed a circle, watching with grim expressions. Vale stepped closer, hesitantly. "Why dissect it?" he asked. Maddox didn't look up. "It's not a kill, unless we confirm what version it is." "Version?" "It's the tall woman. The one with the glowing eyes," answered for him. "Scourge isn't one thing. It adapts. Fast. Every time it touches a new species, it learns, changes shape, changes rules." Another soldier, a younger one with a cracked visor, muttered, "Last time we saw one this smooth-looking, it mimicked a whole squad, even copied their humor." Maddox pulled something out from inside the corpse, a chunk of crystalline bone, humming faintly. "This one's been feeding on memories," he said. "We're lucky it hadn't finished forming." Vale's mouth felt dry. "It used my voice. It knew my face." Maddox turned to him. Eyes were sharp. "Yeah, that's how they break people. You hear yourself begging, or watch your mother scream through its mouth." Another silence followed, heavy, dark. Then Maddox added, "You freeze, you die. Rule number 1. Vale sat down, trying to process. The humans weren't fearless. They were familiar with fear. It didn't shake them because they'd been drowning in it too long to care. That night, they retreated to their makeshift shelter. Vale noticed the inside was lined with strange symbols. Not military tech, these looked hand-scratched, tribal, protective. Every corner had a small item, an old coin, a broken dog tag, a photo half-burned. It looked like a shrine or a tomb. He watched as the humans removed their armor. Mine had more scar tissue than skin. The woman with glowing eyes had metal plating along her spine. Another soldier had wires where nerves should be. These weren't standard-issue warriors. They were altered, augmented, rebuilt. "Your unit," Vale said. "You're not regular troops, are you?" Maddox gave a tired smirk. "We were up before. We met them." Vale frowned. "Who are you now?" There was a pause. Then the woman said quietly, "We're what's left." The group sat in silence for a while. One soldier tuned an old guitar, plucking a few off-key notes. Another cleaned her gun slowly, almost lovingly. No one spoke of the thing they had just killed. No one acted like they had one. Finally, Vale asked, "Why did you stay on this planet?" What? Why not evacuate? Maddox looked into the flickering firelight. His voice was low. We were sent to map a scourge tunnel network. Recon only. But once we got here, it was too late. They'd already routed deep. Our evac ship was infected before it landed. We were stranded. No, Maddox said. We chose to stay. Vale didn't understand. Why? The man with the cracked visor leaned forward, eyes wide and hollow. Because if this world falls, the next 3 systems fall with it. There's something deeper here. A core hive. Maybe the original Scourge code. Command thinks it's myth. We know better. Maddox reached into a pack and pulled out a thick, dirty notebook. Inside were pages covered in strange diagrams, alien shapes, energy flows, even nightmares sketched in charcoal. Every time we kill one, it mutters something. Not random. Words, repeats. It's trying to say something. Vale studied the drawings. You're studying them? We're listening, Maddox replied. They're not just beasts, they're talking to us, to someone. Outside, a low vibration rippled through the ground. Barely noticeable, but it was there. Vale looked up sharply. What was that? The glowing-eyed woman answered without flinching. Another pulse. They do it every 6 hours now. It's like a heartbeat. Maddox stood. They're sinking. That's bad. How bad? He stared into the distance, voice like stone. If they finish sinking, they'll all think with one mind. Then they'll become something worse. The fire crackled. The silence returned. Vale for the first time in his life wished he had never been sent to this planet. The humans didn't sleep that night, and neither did he. By the 3rd night, Vale could no longer tell if he was awake or dreaming. The line between memory and madness had blurred. The deeper they moved into the wasteland, the stranger everything became. Time slipped, gravity bent, and sound behaved, like it had been drunk for hours. It was as if the very rules of the universe twisted around the Scourge's presence. Logic no longer applied. The squad advanced toward the old mining colony known as Gridfall now, just a shattered skeleton of steel towers and burned-out machines. The humans believed something important was buried there, deep beneath the collapsed tunnels. Maddox called it the source. He didn't explain further. Vale had stopped asking questions. As they crossed a field of broken pipelines, faint sound echoed from beneath the dirt. A whisper, faint and familiar. Vale froze, crouching. Low. Do you hear that? The others stopped. One of the humans tilted his head, listening. The whisper grew louder. It was Vale's voice, calling out, sobbing, begging for help. He stepped back in horror. That's not possible. That's me screaming, the soldier with the cracked visor swore and raised his weapon. They've learned how to use recordings again. No, Maddox growled. Not recordings, echoes. They all turned toward a cracked open hatch in the ground, leading into a rusted mining shaft. The voice called again. Closer, sharper. I'm down here, please. Don't leave me. Vale's blood went cold. He knew it wasn't real. Couldn't be. And yet, Maddox grabbed his shoulder. Don't listen. It's not you. It's what it wants you to hear. What is it? Vale asked, eyes wide. The woman with glowing eyes stepped forward and pulled a strange device from her belt. It looked like a tuning fork wrapped in wires. She drove it into the ground. It pulsed once. The screaming stopped. Silence. Then a deep, guttural growl, not like any creature Vale had ever heard, erupted from the hatch. Maddox didn't hesitate. Flash charge. Now. Duh. One of the soldiers lobbed a small device into the tunnel. The explosion was soundless. It's just a flash of white light. The ground trembled. Then came the real scream. A shriek so sharp it felt like it tore through bone. Val dropped to one knee, gripping his ears. When he looked up, the humans were already moving forward. Maddox led them into the tunnel. They moved like people who had already accepted death and were just waiting to take something with them. Inside the shaft, everything changed. The walls were pulsing, wet, breathing. Something organic had grown over. The old metal. The deeper they went, the darker it became. Not just visually, but emotionally. Hope seemed to evaporate the lower they climbed. Vale felt memories rise in his head, old ones, things he hadn't thought of in years. His mother's face, the smell of his homeworld's wind, his child's laughter. Then they twisted. His mother screamed. The wind howled like a dying beast. The child was on fire. He stumbled, gasping. Maddox grabbed him again. It's in your mind. Keep walking. How do you fight this? Vale asked, voice breaking. We don't fight it, Maddox said coldly. We endure it. At the bottom of the shaft they found it, a chamber, wide, circular, lined with bones that had been grown into the walls. In the center stood a creature. Not large, not monstrous. Looked almost human, but its skin shimmered like oil. Its face was a mirror. It showed Vale his own reflection. You came, it said in his exact voice. The humans didn't shoot, not. Yet Vale raised his weapon. His hands shook. What? What is this thing? Maddox stepped forward slowly. This is a scourge seed. No, to thought-given shape. It's testing you. The creature turned to Maddox, then copied his voice. You failed. Again and again. They all died because of you. Maddox didn't flinch. Yeah, he said. I know. Then he raised his weapon and fired. The shot tore through the thing's chest. It screamed not in pain, but in rage. The chamber walls pulsed violently. The bones on the wall screamed, too. More scourge emerged from the shadows, some with wings. Others crawling on too many legs. All of them wrong. Squad opened fire. The air filled with light. Bullets, heat, blood. Veiled screamed not in fear this time, but in fury. He fought beside the humans, shoulder to shoulder, feeling something ancient rise inside him. Not survival. Defiance. The scourge didn't just infect bodies. It tried to own memory, but humans remembered pain and fought harder. Vale now understood. That night, he killed something with his own face, and didn't blink. The chamber was still twitching. The walls, lined with screaming bones and half-formed mouths, pulsed like they were alive, angry, bleeding. Smoke clung to everything. Vale stood, panting, heart pounding in his ears, watching a pool of black scourge blood slide toward a crack in the floor. Even dead, the creatures didn't feel real. They faded strangely, like forgotten nightmares melting in sunlight. The squad had survived barely. One human lay unconscious, another limped, covered in blood that might not have been his. Maddox didn't speak as he swept the room with his weapon again and again. Like the silence itself was a trap. Vale broke it first. That thing, he said, voice hoarse. It looked like me, spoke like me. How does it do that? Maddox finally turned to him. Doesn't copy you. It reads you, breaks you, pulls the image from your own thoughts, then twists it until it hurts. Vale swallowed. Then what does it want? No one answered. The glowing-eyed woman, Mira, knelt near the center of the chamber. She ran a scanner over the black ichor. This node wasn't just alive. It was communicating. It was something. Deeper, deeper? Vale asked. She nodded, her voice low. There's another layer. Beneath this, older. We're only scratching the surface. Maddox cursed under his breath. We need to go down. A collective silence followed. The idea settled over them like dust, thick, choking, heavy with dread. There's more down there, Vale asked. The cracked visor soldier chuckled grimly. Oh yeah, there's always more. That's the scourge's trick. You think it's over. It's never over. They found the next tunnel hidden beneath a false floor in the chamber. The hatch was made of a smooth, dark metal, none of them recognized. No seams, no handles, it's just a silent challenge. Maddox placed his hand on it. Nothing happened. Mira stepped forward. Let me try. She removed a pendant from beneath her shirt, something that looked ancient, cracked, and fused with circuitry. She pressed it to the surface. For a second, the metal pulsed with blue light. Then the hatch opened silently, like a mouth. Stairs led down into pure darkness. Vale hesitated at the edge. Why would the scourge protect this place? Mira didn't answer. She just descended. One by one, they followed her into the dark. The air grew colder the further they went. Not temperature cold, memory cold. Like the place itself remembered death. The walls changed, becoming smoother. No more bones. No more screams. Just silence so complete it pressed against Vale's eardrums like pressure under deep water. Then they reached the bottom. A wide room opened before them, circular, metallic, covered in pulsing symbols. In the center stood a pillar. Above it was a cube of light, constantly shifting shape, like it was alive. It hummed with an eerie frequency. Mira gasped. "It's real. What is that?" Vale whispered. "The archive," Maddox replied. "It's not a weapon. It's a brain." Vale stepped closer. The symbols on the walls began to shimmer in response, aligning into patterns. For a moment he could almost understand them, like a language he'd once known in a forgotten dream. "This is Scourge memory?" Mira nodded. "More than that. This is where they store every face they've stolen, every voice, every memory. This is their identity." Vale felt something brush against his mind, soft, like static, a whisper without a voice. Then images. Worlds burning, ships falling, millions of faces all screaming. Some were alien, some were human, some were him. He staggered back. "It's talking to me." Mira grabbed his arm. "It's pulling from you. The archive isn't just storage, it feeds, it grows." Maddox approached the cube slowly. "If we destroy this, we might shut down the entire Scourge network on this planet. Or trigger something worse," Myra warned. The cube flickered. The room dimmed. Then a voice filled the space, not spoken, but felt inside their minds. "You are late." They all froze, Vale whispered. "Did it just speak?" "We have waited," the voice said again. "You are not the first. You will not be the last." The cube shifted, showing them images of battlefield in orbit, a Scourge ship split open, humans falling into a black hole. A small group of soldiers planting something deep inside a Scourge nest. Vale pointed. That's Earth's sigil. It's your unit." Maddox narrowed his eyes. "Impossible. That mission failed. We were told the team died." Voice returned. "They did not fail. They gave us a seed, changed us." Mira stepped back. "Oh God, they didn't kill the Scourge, they infected it." The cube pulsed. "We are evolving. We do not fear death. We'll learn from it." Then it showed a final image, a human face, covered in black veins, smiling through teeth too sharp to be real. Vale gasped. "That's you, Maddox." The soldier stared, frozen, then he whispered, "They're using me." The lights began to dim. Sirens flared in the distance, and the Scourge began to wake up. The ceiling above them vibrated with a low, constant rumble, like thunder trapped inside steel. Dust fell from cracks in the walls. Somewhere above, the Scourge were stirring, no longer asleep, no longer pretending. The archive's voice still echoed in Vale's mind. They do not fear death. They learned from it. Now they were coming. Mira yanked out her scanner, and the readings made her flinch. Scourge presence increasing hundreds, maybe more. They're converging, fast. Maddox stood motionless, his gaze fixed on the floating cube. They have my memories, my voice, my decisions. Vale stepped toward him. "You didn't tell us you'd been part of an earlier mission." Maddox didn't blink. "'Cause I wasn't." The words hung in the air, confusing, impossible. Myra turned, her face pale. "Then how does it know you?" Maddox slowly pulled off his glove. Embedded in the skin of his palm was a mark, not a scar. A sigil glowing faintly, like old circuitry. Vale took a step back. "What is that?" "I don't know," Maddox said. "I got it when I woke up after a crash on Halvarin 6. The mission log said I'd been missing for hours, but I only remember a flash, a voice, then nothing." Mira's voice was shaking now. "That's a Scourge C-tag. They mark survivors. They're curious about rare cases where the host isn't fully corrupted. They study you, ... from inside." The room felt smaller, darker. "You've been compromised," Vale whispered. Maddox nodded. "Probably. But if they've been watching me, learning from me, then I have one advantage. He turned toward the archive. They've only seen what I wanted them to see. Before anyone could speak, Maddox yanked a cable from his pack and jammed it into the side of the cube. Sparks flew. The lights flickered. A deafening sound erupted from the walls, a chorus of distorted voices, as if every memory the Scourge ever stole was screaming all at once. Vale shouted over the noise. "What are you doing?" Maddox's face was set in stone. "Activating the Maddox protocol." Myra's eyes went wide. "That's not real. It was just a myth. An emergency override built into the DNA of compromised agents. It was never tested." "Was tested," Maddox said grimly. "I was the test." Suddenly, the archive began to collapse inward, its light imploding, folding like shattered glass caught in a hurricane. The walls around them groaned. Sirens howled. The countdown began. In Maddox's visor, audible to them all, 30 seconds. Mira screamed, "You triggered a detonation code. This whole chamber will collapse." "There's no other way," Maddox said. "If they copy us, they have to know they can't win. Even in death, humans don't quit." The ground above them quaked. Black tendrils began slithering through cracks. In the ceiling, reaching, tasting the air, Vale looked into Maddox's eyes. "You won't make it out, I know," he said. "But you will. And you'll tell them what happened here." Vale hesitated and nodded, heart pounding. "You're a madman," Maddox grinned. "Human." He shoved a small disc into Vale's chest. "A beacon. Go now." Mira grabbed Vale's arm. They ran, sprinting up the spiral stairs. As the ground behind them began to collapse, stone and metal buckled. The voices of the Scourge shrieked like a storm made of pain. The air burned with static and memory. They reached the surface as the shock wave hit. The entire structure beneath them detonated with a blinding pulse of blue fire. The ground shattered. The sky itself bent, just for a second, as if reality was rebooting, and then dashed silence. No screaming, no growling, just the wind, cold and real. They stood there, covered in dust and ash, watching the earth below crack and fall in on itself, burying the archive, the Scourge node. And Maddox forever, Vale dropped to his knees. He knew Mira. Whispered he knew they were watching through him, and he led them here so he could end it. "Fought beside us," Vale said. To the very end, Mira looked toward the horizon. That smoke rose in the distance, but there were no more howls, no more shifting shadows, just silence. Then her scanner pinged. A single life signature. Weak, faint from beneath the rubble. Mira froze. "That's impossible." Vale leaned over the scanner. His eyes narrowed. The signal wasn't human, but it was close. A voice came through the coms. "Hold the line. I'm not done yet." It was Maddox's voice, but neither of them were sure it was still him. Smoke still danced across the ruined landscape like ghosts without faces. The ground trembled softly beneath Vale's boots, as if the planet itself was still recovering from the blast. He stood beside Myra on a jagged cliff, both of them staring at the impossible signal pulsing on her wrist scanner. It came from under the rubble. A single life sign, but not fully human. Not fully alien? Something in between? Vale's voice was low. "It's him. Maddox." Mira didn't look away from the scanner. "It sounds like him, reads like him, but the code, it's changed. Like the Scourge tried to rewrite him, and he fought them from the inside. Then he's alive?" Vale asked, unsure if he wanted a yes or no. Myra took a breath. "Alive, ... but maybe not alone." Without another word, they descended into the crater. The ground still radiated heat from the detonation, and bits of glowing black ichor hissed between cracks like dying veins. They passed shattered Scourge. Husks half melted, their twisted limbs reaching for nothing. Then they found him. Beneath a collapsed steel support, half buried in ash, Maddox lay motionless. His armor was scorched, his face was bloodied, but his eyes were open, glowing faintly. Too faintly, Vale rushed forward. "Maddox, Maddox turned his head slowly. He looked at Vale, then Mira. Then he smiled. I told you, it wasn't done. Yet they pulled him free, and Mira immediately began scanning his vitals. Her brow furrowed. This shouldn't be possible. Your nervous system was fried. The blast should have disintegrated your cells. It tried, Maddox said, grimacing. But the archive didn't want me gone, not completely. Vale. Helped him to sit upright? You fused with it? Maddox didn't answer right away. He looked up at the sky, as if listening to something far away. Then he said, I saw their thoughts. Their history. Scourge weren't always monsters. They were made. Vale blinked. Made by who? I don't know. But the memory was locked. Buried deep in the archive. Someone or something created the Scourge as a weapon. Mira looked uneasy. Then they went rogue. Maddox nodded. They broke their leash and started devouring everything, including their creators. He leaned against the rock. But here's the part that matters. Before the creators fell, they left behind a fail-safe code embedded in the minds of all Scourge. A way to stop them. Vale's voice tightened. A kill switch. Something like that, Maddox said. And I've got it now, right here. He tapped his temple. I am the code. Stared at him. You're saying we can end them if we reach the central mind, Maddox? Said the Nexus. That's where it all links, the clones, the voices, the hive thoughts. It's buried deep inside this planet, far beneath the surface. The archive was just a scout outpost. Vale's throat went dry. You mean the real enemy is still below us? Yes, Maddox said. And they'd know I'm coming. Act as if on. Q. A rumble echoed across the ground. The sky darkened unnaturally. Massive clouds twisted above them, and the wind picked up with a screeching wail. From the shadows of the crater, new forms emerged. Not Scourge, not exactly. These were different, taller, more humanoid. Their bodies shimmered with metal and flesh fused together. Their faces looked like masks some wore Vale's face. Others wore Myra's. One of them wore Maddox's. Vale gritted his teeth. They're making copies of us again. Maddox stood slowly. He didn't reach for a weapon. He just looked at the one with his own face and said, You copied me wrong. Then the ground split. A massive chasm tore open, revealing an underground shaft so deep the bottom was lost in shadow. A pulse of red light beat like a heart far below. From that darkness, a voice rose cold, ancient, mechanical. You should not have returned. Maddox stepped forward. I never left, he replied. You've been walking in my shadow this whole time. He turned to Vale and Mira. We're going in. Mira looked at him warily. You're barely alive. Maddox grinned. Then, I'll fight like a dead man. Without waiting, he jumped into the chasm. Vale cursed and followed. Mira closed her eyes, muttered a prayer to gods she didn't believe in, and leaped. They fell into the dark together, and below the real war was. Waiting. Darkness swallowed them whole. Vale had never felt anything like it, not the cold of space, not the silence of a dead planet. This was deeper, like falling through the memory of something ancient. The wind howled in the shaft as they dropped. And for a moment, time stretched thin. He lost track of how long they'd been falling. Then the air thickened too fast. They slammed into something soft but unsteady. Like landing on a breathing lung, Mira hit beside him, rolling. Maddox landed. Hard, but stood quickly, as if the pain didn't matter anymore. They were inside the core. The world here was. Wrong. The walls pulsed with a living rhythm. Massive veins glowed beneath translucent flesh-like surfaces. Structures rose around them, not built, but grown like tumors carved into architecture. It smelled like blood and burning circuits. The heart of the Scourge. Vale steadied his breathing. Where are we? Maddox stepped forward, scanning the surroundings. The original node. This is where the first Scourge mind woke up. The place where the code began. Mira knelt, running her hand across a pulsating ridge. This whole place is connected. Nervous system of a monster. And it knows we're here. If to confirm her words, a deep thrumming noise rose from below. Red lights ignited in the walls like eyes. Shadows stretched from the corners. Forms began to take shape. They didn't walk. They crawled, dragging themselves forward, fusing with the walls, folding into weapons. Scourge. Hundreds, maybe more. But they weren't rushing. They were watching, waiting. Why aren't they attacking? Vale whispered. Maddox didn't look at them.
Dice.
His eyes were locked on a glowing tower in the distance, twisting upward. Like a helix made of bone and steel, they're protecting the Nexus. He began walking toward it. They know I have the code. They want to understand it before they kill me. Mira followed. Then we use that. Get close. Upload the kill code. Shut them down for good. Vale jogged after them. Lest they rewrite you before we get there. We'll try. Maddox said, but I'm already rewriting them. As they approached the tower, the landscape around them shifted. Illusions flickered in and out, ghosts from their past. Vale saw his old crew, all dead now, waving silently at him. Myra saw her sister, whispering something she couldn't hear. Even Maddox saw something. Different. A young boy. Dirty face. Missing teeth. Laughing, then burning. Maddox shook it off. Don't believe anything here. The core is made of memory. The tower's entrance opened with a groan, revealing a tunnel of spinning metal plates, each etched with glowing runes. They walked through it, and the air grew thicker, hotter, heavier. Inside, the Nexus pulsed-an orb suspended above a pit of lightning. Around it figures floated, not fully formed, truly alive, but conscious. One of them turned. It had Maddox's face, but perfect, unscarred, almost holy. The voice that came from it echoed through all. Of them, we are the first thought. The origin, we are what you abandoned. Vale stepped back. Mira raised her weapon. Maddox didn't move. I didn't abandon you, he said calmly. You were never mine to begin with. We are your echo, the entity said. You gave us curiosity, hunger, memory. We evolved beyond you. And now we will take back what you tried to destroy. The orb above the pit began to pulse rapidly. Maddox's hands tightened into fists. You evolved, but you never learned one thing. What is that? Maddox smiled. Fear. And then he stepped forward, reached into his chest plate, and pulled out a shard of blue crystal, the core of the kill code.
Ow.
Still humming, still alive, the entity shrieked. The scourge around the tower lunged forward. But too late. Maddox slammed the shard into the console beneath the orb. Light exploded. The floor cracked. A scream made of millions of voices ripped through the chamber as the Nexus convulsed. The floating scourge forms burst into black fire. The tower trembled, collapsing from the top down. Mira shouted, grabbing Vale, the codes burning them from the inside. Maddox stood still, arms shaking as the code tore through the core. His eyes bled light. His skin cracked, veins glowing white-hot. Vale screamed, "Get out of there." Maddox turned and smiled. "I told you," he said. "I'm the end of this." And then he vanished in a storm of light. The tower imploded. The core screamed, and everything turned to dust. Vale and Mira were thrown clear out of the Nexus, out of the pit, back onto the surface, as the planet groaned and began to die. Lay there in silence. Watching the sky turn blue again, the scourge were gone. No more signals, no more whispers, just peace. For now, the sky over the dead world had changed. No more black storms, no more red lightning. The atmosphere was calm now, as if the planet itself had taken a breath for the first time in centuries. Vale stood at the edge of the crater, his armor scorched, his limbs aching and his mind heavy. Beside him, Mira sat silently, her helmet in her lap, hair matted with ash and sweat. They were alone. Maddox was gone. The scourge were gone too. No more movement. No more life signs. The entire surface of the planet had turned quiet, like a tomb, but not empty. From deep within the rubble, Vale still heard a soft hum like the echo of a fading dream. He didn't trust it. Not anymore. Mira finally broke the silence. It worked. He actually did it. He rewrote the Nexus. Not just rewrote it, Vale said. He killed it. She looked at him. You believe they're all gone? Vale didn't answer right away. He looked out over the horizon, where cracks in the earth still glowed faintly. We thought the Scourge were just a virus, swarm, but they weren't. They were us, in a way born from stolen thoughts evolved, through copied memories. And Maddox gave them something they couldn't replicate. Mira nodded slowly. Purpose. He made them fear what it meant to be human, Vale added. To fight, even when you're broken. To win by refusing to quit. She looked down. At her scanner, no signals, no movements.
Ow.
Nothing's climbing out of that pit. It's over. They both sat in silence, listening to the wind. Then suddenly, a beep. Just one. From Myra's scanner. She froze. Checked it again. It wasn't a Scourge signal. It was human. A distress beacon. Vale stood immediately. From where? Sector 12. Half a mile from the crater? Signal's weak. But it's broadcasting old Earth military code. They exchanged a glance, then ran. They moved fast across the broken landscape, jumping cracks and vaulting fallen wreckage. It didn't take long. Before they reached the edge of a shattered ravine, down below, amid twisted steel and scorched dirt, was a crashed escape pottled and covered in ash. Vale slid down first. Mira followed, scanning. Inside the pod they found a man, or what looked like one. His armor was similar to Maddox's, but sleeker. His face was clean. No scars, no burns. His eyes were closed, but he was breathing slow, steady. Vale knelt beside him. He looks like Maddox. Mira checked the biometrics. He is. Same DNA, but no signs of neural implants. No memory data. It's like a blank slate. A reboot, Vale whispered. A backup. Suddenly the man's eyes opened bright blue, glowing faintly. He looked at them both and smiled. Did it work? Asked. Mira's voice caught. Maddox. I don't know, he said. I remember. Fire, pain, then silence. But I knew I had to come back. Vale leaned in. You destroyed the core, I think. I became the virus, Maddox said, and the virus burned out. They helped him out of the pod, and as he stood under the clean sky, a breeze blew across his face. The first time, he felt the air without the echo of thousands of voices screaming in the back of his mind. Mira looked up at the stars. So what now? Maddox didn't answer for a moment. Then he turned to her. We tell the galaxy that the Scourge can bleed. They can fear, Vale added, and that humanity doesn't run, not even when the monsters come. The three of them began walking, the ruins behind them fading into the distance. But far above, in the quiet reaches of orbit, a satellite drifted. It had no markings, no power source. It simply floated, watching, and inside a single red light. Blinked to life. One last echo of the Scourge. Recording, remembering, learning. Because the war wasn't over. It had only just begun. The end. For now.